Start with you, Les, and then John. Morning, Coach. We'll get started here with Les and then John.
Hi, Dave. So, is this your most challenging year coaching special teams? And how would you sum it up? I think you've had problems in almost every area except coverage, which has been very good. What's happened?
Is this the most challenging year? I don't know. Every year is challenging in its own ways. Obviously, like I've said before, we have a really high standard. I have a high standard for myself and for, the things that we get done on special teams, obviously. I think I said last week, at the end of the day, we've won 4 games. Last week we were going into game 15. This week we're going into game 16. It's definitely not been good enough, I don't think, in any area. Certainly not mine, that's for sure. At the end of the day, we got one more game left to play. Obviously, I think, as coaches, players, all we can do is focus on the things we can control. We got an opportunity in front of us this week. We're certainly going to put our best effort forward, and that's kind of what we've done all season long. The outcome hasn't always been what we've wanted it to be. I tend to put more of my focus on the process.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, John, and then Jeff.
Hey, Dave. I kind of asked Jim this about the defensive side, so I'll ask you as well. You've been doing special teams for a while now, I think 2007, 2008. But so you've been through different rule changes, different CBAs, different limitations on how much you can practice off season, in season. Is it more difficult to get younger players up to speed in today's environment? Obviously, this year a little bit different because of COVID as well.
Yeah, I would say, this year maybe a little bit different challenge. Not really the off season and all that stuff, preseason games. So I would say this year maybe a little bit more so that way. I would say in general, though, over the last handful of years, not really. We get a lot of time with these guys in the off season when we have one. Those preseason games have always been really good for us. I would say it's not gotten harder. I think with the amount of time that we're able to have with these guys in meetings and walkthroughs and practice and off-season stuff and the OTAs and all that, I think there's ample opportunity for that. Like you said, this year is obviously certainly different than all those other years. But no, I think everybody's got the same challenge. That's one thing that's great about this league is everything's regulated, so really every team's under the same conditions and have the same opportunities to prepare players.
Jeff, and then Ed.
Dave, just for clarification on punt returns, is it your call who's back there, or is that something that that Doug weighs in on and tells you whether Reagor should go or not? How is that decided?
Yeah, I would say it's a collaborative effort. Certainly not just my decision alone. I certainly have my opinions on how to best manage that in the best interest of the football team. We've talked about that throughout the course of the season. But I would say in general, to your question, it's a collaborative effort with a lot of different people.
And so,
go ahead, Jeff.
Return from Reagor. Yeah. So why hasn't Reagor been used more?
You got cut out on some of that, but I did pick up the end where you said why isn't he used more? I think I've answered it every other week, if not every week. But for us, we're trying to put him back there when he can, or when he's got the chance to affect the game in the biggest possible way. I think I'll just give you an example. Yesterday, CeeDee Lamb, or the other day, CeeDee Lamb was out there just a handful of times. They spelled number 11 in there when the situation wasn't quite as returnable. I think CeeDee was back there for 2 returns. He had 6 yards. We got Jalen back there for 1 in a real returnable situation. The other situations, it was 4th and 1, or they're punting in the plus 50 area of the field, and the return opportunities were a lot less. So we're just trying to manage his load, put him back there when he has a chance to affect the outcome of the game the biggest way possible. In that game, he had 1 return for 15 yards.
Okay, Ed, and then Dave.
Yeah, hi, Dave. We always ask you about the punt returners, so I'll open a new can of worms here and ask you about the kickoff returner. You've been very consistent with Boston Scott being back there. What do you like about him in that role? And have you considered, maybe using like a Quez Watkins or somebody else?
Yeah, no, we've considered a lot of different guys. Right now, we feel like Boston gives us the best chance to help our football team back there. There's a lot of things that go into that. It's not just his ability to return the ball, but decision making, toughness, obviously ball security. I know we put one on the ground yesterday, but ball security is a big part of that. And there's, what his role is on offense or defense. There's a lot of things that go into that right now. We feel like he gives us the best chance to help our football team win.
Dave and then Mike.
Hey, Dave, you mentioned that overall the special teams haven't lived up to the standard this year. I know it's kind of a generic question or a general question, but what are some of the main factors, do you think, that led to that this year?
Yeah, I think there's a number of different things. I'm not going to get into all that stuff. Obviously, every challenge is different every year. I think I told you last week I would never make excuses. This is a bottom line business. The bottom line is we got to get the job done. That's what we want to be known for. That's certainly what I want to be known for. Like I've said before, some days I've been better at that than others, or some years I've been better at that than others. I've been fortunate to have a lot of success in my career. Obviously, we won 4 games. This wasn't our best effort there. But at the end of the day, I think coaches, we focus really a lot on the process. I know the outside world focuses a lot on the outcome. There's a lot of things in the outcome that I think any individual coach can't necessarily control. And again, I'm not going to go into all that stuff. But I think for coaches, we focus on the process. Did your players know what to do? Did they know how to do it? Did you put them in a situation in practice? Did you drill it? Did you go over all the things possible to have them prepared, the best you could have them prepared? So I think, individually, like my focus is more on that type of stuff in terms of how I evaluate myself. I would say that there's always room for improvement. I've always said that about myself. I can grow a lot and get a lot better. There's no doubt about that. But I don't know. That's kind of in general where things are. Again, I'm not going to make excuses. We haven't done well enough. We'd like to be better. I know no one out there is harder on our performance than I am myself.
Mike and then Zach.
Dave, you've had a lot of success with wide receivers playing, gunners and in coverage, Riley Cooper, Brad Smith, all those guys. Why haven't the young wide receivers been involved at all on special teams? It seems like Quez Watkins and John Hightower just haven't been out there at all when they've been active.
Yeah, I know that question's been asked before a little bit, and I would say that you're asking why isn't a wide receiver out there, but I would say at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is put the best 11 out there, and sometimes it's not that player can't do something, but somebody else on the roster can do it better. Right now, like we feel like Kayvon and Rudy Ford are our 2 best gunners out there, and they're better than the down-the-line wideouts that we have a choice to play. And so at the end of the day, that's why they're not there.
And if I can follow up with that, when Rudy was out, how big of an impact did that have on your special teams coverage unit?
Yeah, I don't know. Rudy's obviously a really good player. He went out there and had, he affected the first punt and he made the tackle on the second one in that game. He's obviously really productive. He's had a lot of production for the plays he's been on the field. Certainly anytime you lose a player that's that productive, it has an impact. But like I said, I'm not going to make excuses. I think the challenge for a coach is to find a way to make the best out of the parts, so that the sum of the parts is or the sum is greater than the individual parts. The whole is greater than that, and so that's our challenge as coaches.
Zach and then Les.
Hey, Dave, circling back to the kickoff returns, you guys have 3 returns of more than 25 yards this season. That's the 3rd fewest in the league. You said you like Boston best back there. So are you of the belief that number would not be better if there was a different returner? And why do you think you haven't had
I'll
those?
say this, at the end of the day, I don't think that play just comes down to one guy. So I think you're trying to base the success off the whole return unit, off of one player. I don't think that's fair for any one player out there on the field. I think there's a lot of different factors that factor into that: who you play, who you have, who they have, how you match up. Obviously for us, like in that game there, we had a double team on a guy and we didn't get the double team done, taken care of. A guy beat us on a double team and ended up making a play back there deep on us. And I don't think that really has much to do with Boston. Can he influence it? Yeah, there's no question. Obviously, all 11 of those guys can make a difference on any given play, and then myself also. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the results all go back to one player. I think it's a sum of all 11 guys.
Should the results be better on kickoff returns this year?
Say that again. Could the results be what?
I'm sorry. Should the results be better on kickoff returns this year?
I mean, we would like our results to be better every time we step on the field on every play. I would say that in general. Could the results be better? Yeah, we want a better result every time we're out there. I think I said a few weeks ago, we've never had a perfect play, not for me. We've had a lot of really good plays, but none of them have been perfect. There's always room to improve every one of those plays. I know this. Those guys are working really hard. They practice really hard. They train really hard. We prepare really hard. And at the end of the day, the outcome hasn't always been exactly what we wanted it to be. But I don't question the process at all.
Go ahead, Les.
Yeah, one little minor thing, Dave, that kind of came up with some fans asking me. So Cam Johnston obviously cleared the concussion protocol, but then we saw like the 16-yard punt, and was there something there I didn't see? Was he okay Sunday? Do you think was that just one of those things?
Yeah, I think Cam was great. I mean, obviously that punt wasn't great, but in terms of his health, when you're talking about is he okay? Yeah, he was healthy. He was cleared by the protocol. It's obviously rigorous what they have to go through for good reason nowadays, and he cleared all those things and was cleared to play. He just hit that one punt there.
Okay, and there wasn't I didn't see there wasn't somebody right on top of him or anything like that when he hit it, or.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that
Okay.
either.
All right.
Yeah, I think he just had a miss punt.
Any other questions for Coach? Okay, thanks, Dave.